So today it's the second time that I've broken down in the Niro, and it shouldn't happen. It's completely my fault, but I'll tell you how it all transpired. Just my stupidity, really. This morning, beautiful day today. This morning, my daughter and I were together, and we decided to go to a place called Betshanger Park. Very nice park near here. It's about 13 miles away, in fact, from Canterbury. And I got into the car, and I could see it had 15% battery and 39 miles on the gom. So I thought, oh, that's a bit close, because obviously if it's 13 miles there, 13 miles back, that's 26 miles. But still, that would have left us with 13 miles. So I thought, okay, surely it's fine, because actually I've come to expect the gom to be quite reliable and the car to be very good with efficiency. So, I thought it'd be fine, and I didn't put the heating on, so we just wore very warm jackets. But it still, we broke down on the way back with 3 miles to go. We got to the park with 9% battery, and it said 23 miles on the gom. So I thought, well, that's fine, because 13 miles back home, that would leave 10 miles. And I know, obviously, you could argue, well, getting there might be downhill, going back might be a bit uphill, but actually it wasn't really the case. I mean, it's kind of even both ways, I think. This is the point where I will check on a better route planner, actually, just to make sure, but it seems okay. So, anyway, I got the low battery warning at 8% state of charge. So really quite soon after I left, because I left with 9%, and then I got to 8% low battery warning, at which point my daughter started to panic a bit. And I said, no, it's fine, this car is good. But then, of course, the turtle appeared. The first of the turtles, in fact. So the turtle appeared, and it said power limited. I thought I'd get back to Canterbury maybe with 1 mile left or something like that, but but I thought it would be okay. So carried on going, and then with 3 miles left to get home, so 3 miles left on the gom, the power dropped again significantly, and in fact that's what I would call turtle head, because at that moment you really panic. Significant power drop at that moment. So we were on a 30, but it was a 30 road, but it felt just a bit dodgy. I mean, I had to pull over, especially as the road then went to a 50 just after that. And there was a lay-by on the left, and I thought, right, this is it, I'll go on the lay-by, because I wasn't going to get stuck on the road and stranded with my daughter, because she wasn't having much fun at that point. Yeah, because she started to cry, and she thought that we were stranded and everything. But we were only 3 miles away from Canterbury, and it said 3 miles on the gom. So I didn't realise actually that if it says 3 miles on the gom, right, that's 3 miles crawling along, like panicking crawling miles. So I didn't even factor that in, I mean, for a start, I thought that we were going to get back with like 10 miles left on the gom. So to have it saying 3 and then power limited, there was just no way I could have done it. If I was crawling along maybe at 10 miles an hour or something, I'd probably manage it. So you get two stages of this turtle mode. Yeah, you get the one at 8% battery, and then you get another one at, I can't remember what 5%, I think it was. Might have been less than that. 3%. So I crawled to a stopped in a lay-by, and at this point, so it said checked power supply. So I got there, called the breakdown recovery services people, and they told me actually that I should just go home, which is easier said than done, of course, because if you don't have a second car, we don't have a second car, and my wife was working, so I couldn't really easily do that. Luckily, we had where we stopped, we had a friend just a few miles away, so they were able to take us back home. So both of us went back home. So that's actually quite nice that we weren't stuck in the car. I was thinking my daughter would just go back, but actually we both went back. And then they said that when they were in London for this recovery breakdown people, they were in London. When they came back, they would call me, and then I could meet them there somehow. They took a long time. London to Canterbury is quite a distance, and yeah, they were a while. So I was expecting a flatbed. A flatbed is where you drive up. So I was surprised when it was just a van that turned up. So they actually was good enough to pick me up at home. That was nice, and take me there. But it was just a van, and they were going to have a generator on board. So I thought, well, that's good, you know, they just have to charge for like half an hour or something, and that would have been enough to get me back. But the generator didn't work. So he's there for ages. I mean, we were there waiting a long time, and he was trying one thing after another. Was it topped up with fuel? At one point, he thought the battery had gone on the generator, which was just too ironic. I mean, I was kind of laughing to myself at the ridiculousness of the situation. And, you know, it turns out the starter motor was gone on the generator. And anyway, he took me home, and then he went off. And then they had to get a flatbed in the end. So the flatbed guy got there. This is while I was all at home. So I just heard this on the phone from the recovery guy. And the recovery guy that had been waiting ages with his generator not working, he couldn't get the car started. It said, try and turn it on with a key fob or something on the power button. I can't remember what he said now. So the 12-volt battery had died as well, which was weird. Why would it die? There's no reason for the 12-volt to die, is there? We weren't sat in the car for that long when it broke down with the radio going or anything. I mean, we left it on for just a few minutes, really. It wasn't that long, and it was quite a good long run. So the 12-volt should have been charged up, so I don't know why it wasn't. I guess it didn't top it up because it was too low. The battery was too low. Now, the stupid thing is, right, so knowing that I did get power limited, as I was driving past the turning to my friend's house, I could have just stopped there, albeit down the road a little bit, but I could have stopped there and just plugged in with a granny cable to her house, or even in fact their neighbour has a Nissan Leaf, so I probably could have just charged there for a bit. So I'm just kicking myself. Now the other thing that's really annoying is you might think, well, why didn't you stop at a charger, Andrew? And that's the problem. There were no chargers, or there are no chargers, all along this stretch of road from Bettshanger to Canterbury. Absolutely nothing. And there's, you know, a couple of reasonably large towns or villages or whatever, loads of pubs and stuff, not one charger, not even a slow one. Otherwise I would have stopped at a slow one. Nothing. So that's really rubbish. So that's one small moan. Now the Kia, when you get the thing and it says, you know, low battery, it does say find charging stations, but the nearest charging station that this car recommended was in a place called Sandwich Discovery Park, and it's a charge your car charger, and it doesn't work anyway, and it would have been turning back the other way. So had I followed that advice, then that would have been an epic fail as well, and I would have been further away from home. We have zero excuse for not charging the car, but normally I do it, and I didn't, and my wife never tends to plug it in, so it's just, it didn't happen, and I haven't been driving the car for the past couple of days or something, so I hadn't noticed how low the battery was. This morning, of course, I perhaps shouldn't have gotten the car, or I could have just plugged in for a bit, maybe. But you know, I'm a dad desperate to spend time with my daughter, and she wanted to go to this park and cycle around, have a picnic in the woods, and she was really looking forward to it. And I didn't want to spoil that by saying, I'm sorry, I've got to plug in the car. Because then we would have missed lunch and all that, and we have our set times. We're quite a routine-led family, so couldn't do that. The moral of the story is treat 8% state of charge as an absolute minimum. In fact, I would probably decide just not to go lower than 10. And that always used to be my moral, in fact. After I broke down the first time, I had decided that. But then I'd been driving this so much, and like John O'Groats, the John O'Groats trip, and we did stop at a charger, I think, with 9% battery once. And I wasn't even worried at that point, you know. It's a funny thing. I wasn't worried. But perhaps because I was using a better route planner, and I didn't today because it was a route I knew. But yeah, I would go, I mean, really, under 10% you're asking for trouble, I think. Especially, I mean, I thought I'd be fine because I just had to get home, really. And I've got the charger here. I would play it more safe if I was going for a public charger, because you don't know if it's working or not. So yes, moral of the story, don't go below 8%. 8%, everything, just bad stuff starts happening at 8%. So I'm not going to do that again. I think I'm going to bug every single pub I can think of along that road to try and get some chargers installed for free. See the video. Anyway, well, at least I'm back home. I'm back home and all is fine now. And for the haters, which will inevitably say, at least with an ICE car, you can just go to a petrol station. That's true. And at least with an ICE car, you can get just a little top up, a little jerry can of petrol or whatever, and fill up, and that's also true. And I have nothing much to say about that, but the generator would have worked, or should have worked. So that would have been fine in theory. And also, it is just electricity. I mean, I could have stopped at my friend's house and topped up. I could have knocked on anyone's door theoretically, but of course I'm English, so I don't do that kind of thing. And any car, in theory, any EV could have an outlet, a plug outlet, like the Honda E does, like the new Hyundai and Kia models will from next year. So in theory, any recovery car could be an EV. So in theory, any EV could be a recovery car, and you could just plug in, albeit just 3 kilowatts, but that would be enough to get you going, after a while. So that would be like a very slow form of jump starting. So anyway, to the haters, yes, it's funny. Yeah, I know, electric car broken down again, and it's just my own stupid fault. No one else to blame. Okay, so it's the next day. I'm feeling a bit fresher, so I thought I would just go through a few things that people asked me on Twitter, because I went through the whole saga last night on Twitter. So, first of all, I would just like to say that, if you do get an e-Niro, brilliant car, really, but if you look at the GOM, and it says like 4 miles, 5 miles, 6 miles, anything like that, probably under 10, start to panic. I know it bothers you anyway, and it does say, find a charge station, whatever, nearby, but you really do have to think that much of those miles that you've got, they're going to be like pointless driving and not crawling along, panicking kind of miles. What Kia should do, those miles should go down to 0, and they should be usable miles down to 0. Anything you get beyond that should go minus whatever, and then at least you would have an accurate guide as to how many miles you've got. So at the moment, I charged last night. At the moment, I have 122 miles. But really, I could take away like maybe 5 of those, So it's not a true accurate representation of how many miles you actually have. And I don't know why that is. And also, the other thing that I was thinking is, when I was driving back yesterday, the miles were dropping far quicker than they should have been. And that's a bit strange. I don't know why it does that. It's almost like it's recalibrating itself or something. And the same thing happened on the motorway, and I didn't understand it. So that's a strange thing. So I don't see the point. Just don't tell me I've got 4 miles to go when they're rubbish 4 miles. Okay? The funny thing is, I had the Leaf for a 24 kilowatt hour Leaf. I had that for like 18 months, a bit more, I think. And this never happened to me. I think once it went to the 3 dashes, which happens when you get quite low battery. I forget what the percentage is. And then it doesn't actually tell you what your range is. And arguably that's better, because I would almost rather like go into panic mode at that point, rather than be lulled into a false sense of security thinking I have got, a few miles to go. So of course the other thing was that there were no chargers all along that road. Absolutely not one, not even a slow one. So something else that I think, apart from the fact that people really should be installing rapid chargers or even fast chargers, whatever, wherever they can, it would be nice actually if there were just some emergency 3-pin plugs. So, because even 3 kilowatts would have been enough just to, sit there for even half an hour, probably would have given me enough juice to get back. So that would be really good, because there's no excuse. Electricity is ubiquitous, it's everywhere. There's no excuse not to just stick a few plugs in. Even like coin-operated ones or something, I don't care, but just that would be nice if perhaps that's something the government need to do. So the 12 volt, as I said last night, the 12 volt died when they were trying to pick it up and put it on the flatbed. I don't know why that happened, and I just can't think. The heater wasn't on, the lights weren't on, the hazards weren't even on, because I didn't want to drain the battery for that reason. So I can't think why the 12 volt would be down. I just can't work that one out. OVMS wasn't plugged in, so I had nothing plugged into the car. Nothing was on, no lights or anything. So again, that just makes me think that there is something wrong with the 12 volt battery, even though the mechanics did check it and they said that it was fine, but it's doing something weird to it. Someone else said about towing. Now, in theory, I could have been towed back with the front wheels touching the ground, and that could have actually regenerated the battery as I was being towed along. But they don't recommend you do that. In fact, it talks about a fire risk in the manual. So that's why I didn't want them to do that. Not that they even suggested it, because they automatically sent out that van with the generator on it, and then after that the flatbed. They didn't even say about towing it. And had I asked them, they probably would have refused, because they wouldn't want to break the car, of course, especially not make it set alight, because that would be a bit of an insurance nightmare, wouldn't it? So that's all I have to say on it, really. I just think the moral of the story, friends, don't trust the GOM. The other moral is always be charging, which we should have known already. Someone said, how could this happen to you? You're Mr. EV, you drove to John O'Groats and all the rest of it. Yes, it happens to me because I am a bit of a moron sometimes. And it's there's no excusing it. And I just know now, again, learnt my lesson again, that I can't trust the GOM. At least, not too much anyway. If you're planning a trip, don't go under 8% battery. And I would say if you're heading for a charger, head for go for 10% maybe as a minimum, because then that will at least get you to another charger, hopefully, if you can find one. So yeah, that's all there is to it. If you do have any questions, put them in the comments below, and I look forward to hearing lots of people saying you're a moron, and I know I'm a moron, so you don't have to tell me. But hey, I hope that this will help you and save you the same embarrassment. So thanks very much for watching. Please subscribe and press the bell icon. Really important that, because you do get notified if I do any other videos. And I look forward to talking to you in a more upbeat video than this one. So thanks very much, and bye for now.